Hello, you wonderful people. So for today's video, I want to be talking about Death Note's ending. Specifically, like, how I wish things had ended differently. So obviously, like I said, I'm talking about the ending. So if you have not seen Death Note's ending, whether it's in the form of the manga, the anime, whatever, do I watch this video. Obviously go and watch Death Note all the way through. And then if you feel the need to, you can come back to this video. But don't do that. You don't even feel the need to. If you haven't watched or read Death Note, go ahead and just do that, Don't even worry about this video. Basically, this all came about because of multiple things. Like, obviously, like, I did a Heroes or Villain about Light, but also like the Death Note movie that got released on Netflix. Whether you like it or hate it, like, so Death Note's been on my mind. And obviously at one point, like a little while back, on one of my Heroes or Villains, that's me and someone had brought up the discussion of like they wish that Light had gotten away with it in the end, and that's something that clicked with me because it's like, yeah, because I remember years ago on Crunchyroll forum, I made a little post talking about how I wanted Death Note to end, and my version of Death Note isn't anything special. It's not like, ooh, some grand masterpiece I wrote out. It's like, no, my basic idea is I want Light to get away with it. I want him to stand on top of the city and be like, I'm a god, and I'm going to like, like, it just ends with him standing on top of a tall building looking down at the world that he's about to change, that he's about to help recreate. That's all my thoughts were. It's nothing special. I'm sure countless upon countless people have had that same thought in their head. And just really, I just wanted to break it down just because it's fascinating to think about, like, because it's like this isn't the only series that's ever done that, like, killed off its hero. But like, the fact of the matter is, Light is a special case. You have your main protagonist slash villain dying because it's a situation of like, hey, you're a good guy. You started off with the best of intentions. Obviously, people will debate whether you went about things the right way, but you have this powerful book that you want to try and make the world a better place. Obviously, it strays, because I've talked about this in the past too. Like, obviously, the way Light manipulates and uses people, killing people that aren't 100% guilty just because they're in your way, trying to stop you from doing what you're doing. Like, these are just people who are just, they're trying to stop you because you, in their eye, you're a bad guy. And like I said, that's always a fascinating thing about Death Note. Like, depending on what perspective you look at it, like, Light can be the protagonist or anti-hero, and L and Nier could be the antagonist. But then you flip the script and you look at it from L's perspective. He's the protagonist and then Light's the antagonist. So it's just always an interesting thing when you look at it. But ultimately, let's get back to what I was talking about. The fact of the matter is, Light dying in the end. Like, it's one of those bittersweet things, because it's like, I legitimately wanted Light to get away with it, because it's like, it's one of those situations where it's like, arguably, Michael, you sided with the bad guy. It's like, kinda, I have, because throughout the entire series, you're by Light's side. You're almost like Ryuki in this whole situation. You're a bystander in this situation. You're watching everything unfold. And it's like, you've seen Light go through all the stuff that he's done, so it's kind of like, there's a part of you that's like, that wants him to get away. I'm sure that doesn't apply to everyone. I'm sure some people like, he's a piece of crap. He's killing people, take him down. Like I said, that's a fascinating thing about this series. Like I said, like, right and wrong, and doing wrong for the right reasons, but eventually giving enough time, the aspect of absolute power corrupts absolutely, that eventually you will just deem it, like, it comes down to, who are you to decide? Who are you to be judge, jury, and executioner for anyone? You're not supposed to have that power. It's all too much for one person to have. And it makes me wonder, is that why the creator decided to end the series the way they did, with Light dying? Is it because, like, cause what would have happened if Light had continued? Would his following have grown more? If the situation were different, if it were a different character in the situation, like, if you flipped the roles and it was just like, if the series was 100% told from L's perspective, then Light dying, I don't think people would be that mad about. Because, I'm sure for most people's perspective, it's like, no, Light's a piece of crap for what he does. Like, killing people the way he does, once again, deciding for himself to be judge, jury, and executioner, to kind of go around the legal system. It's in place, for particular reasons, but at the same time, it's like, well, Light's doing this stuff because these people slipped through the cracks. And like I said, I guess that's ultimately, like, if you put someone else in Light's shoes, if it wasn't a situation of this was a character that we got so used to and followed, that on some level some people liked, then would we feel the same way? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm curious, like, if you've, you know, I'd love to know your thoughts about that. Like, really quickly, like, even before I continue, like, I want to know, like, you know, you can answer this with the questions I have later on, but it's like, did you like light is what I'm curious about, because I'd love to know, like, what that was. Like, I'd probably should look that up after this video too, to find out, like, how most people felt about light. I'm curious. I mean, I'm talking all around it and everything, but it's like, technically you could say things might have worked out better for light in a sense, maybe. I mean, he didn't become the god he necessarily wanted to, because I remember years ago that there was like a bonus scene connected to stuff that basically it shows Ryuk at the end. It's basically almost like him, it's almost like it was told from the perspective of him almost retelling the entire story. And basically there's a Shinigami nearby that's kind of walking away, and he says the line, isn't that, like, it's something like, isn't it right, light? So basically the theory has always been that that Shinigami is light, that basically he came back as a death god, which is like, well, he kind of got what he wanted, he becoming a god, but I mean, I don't know if it's the exact same thing. Like, you know, it's one of those things that's kind of like left open, and I don't even know if that applies in a manga, because I always see that as kind of an anime thing. So maybe in the manga it's like, nope, no death god thing, no Shinigami, just dead. Or, you know, I don't know, like I said, that's something I'll have to look into. I never looked too deeply into it, I don't know why. All of this has kind of got that research in my head. Like, my question to you is, like, how would you have wanted Death Note to end? Do you think Death Note ended the way it needed to? And even if it did, is there still a part of you that's like, well, I wish it ended a little differently, like this and that? Like, would you have liked the series to have continued? Like, oh, I want to see Light as a Shinigami, like passing the torch on to someone else to become a god. Because I mean, Ryuk is very Ryuk. Like, we never got to see too many Shinigamis throughout the series. The only ones we ever got experience with were Ryuk and Rim, each one getting something else out of this situation. Rim was by Misa's side, that's all she cared about. And then you take someone like Ryuk, all Ryuk wanted was, like, he enjoyed the game. So you don't know particularly like what Shinigami's stance in all of this is. For them, it's just like, nah, we do what we do, we write people's names in the death notes and just watch over the world, we live our lives boring and stuff like that. You know, I don't think the Shinigami world was ever really brought up too much. It was just kind of a device of like, hey, the Shinigami world is here, they exist. I don't think, you know, maybe there's lines of dialogue in the manga or the anime that really kind of elaborate more about it, but I don't think it was anything that, I guess, the creator ever felt like they need to really dive into, because the story is here on Earth about light. Because my thoughts are like, do you think either way, like, Light's story needed to end the way it did, or it would have just got like, oh, because it would have just been a never-ending thing? I feel like after the whole Nier situation, maybe you could have ended it, considering, like, you know, that's like the next in line to be the world's greatest detective after L and everything. So would it have been anyone to stop him afterwards? Could that be a big reason to end it the way, that way, to make sure, like, no, he was nipped in the butt, because, like, after, if he had defeated Nier in them, then it would have been smooth sailing for him? Or is it just a situation of like, Light is such a bad person, he doesn't deserve a happy ending? Which still goes back to the whole situation of he became a Shinigami in the end, so did it 100% work against him? Did he have a happy ending? You know, those are all my questions. I know I'm throwing a lot your direction. It's just like, my brain is so curious about those situations. I'd love to get your thoughts about like this and everything else I brought up in this video. I don't know, I'd love to kind of get other people's opinions, especially if people were more Team L and Team Nier rather than Team Light. Most people I ever come across tend to be more Team Light, but you know, I don't know. Like I said, that's why I'd love to get your opinions, especially if you were Team L or something. Like, how do you feel? Because I'm sure, like, ending it, if you were Team L, you're like, yes, finally took him down. Like, you know, L kind of in a way got you in the end, you know? So, but really, that's all I want to talk about in this video. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.